It keeps getting worse for Cowboys fans as new details have surfaced on the Micah Parsons trade, and we have the horrendous notes from yesterday evening's Jerry Jones press conference. We have all the latest for you right now on Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show. All right, we've had a night of sleep on it. How do we feel, Cowboys Nation? Let me know down in the comments section. Is this a trade that you now feel more comfortable with? Are you feeling less comfortable with it? Are you still in shock? How are you feeling after a night of sleep and kind of knowing that Micah Parsons actually is gone, actually did get traded, and will most likely never wear the Cowboy star ever again in his career? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Obviously, yesterday we got a lot of details fast and quick when it comes to this trade, but there was things that came out later in the night that arguably made it worse, arguably made it better. There are some things that, hit both sides, and we'll talk about that. But this divorce between the Cowboys, Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones, it started long before, this season or even this month. I mean, it was definitely something that has been a little bit brewing for the past, I would say, 6 months in some aspect. According to Micah Parsons' account, he's been asking for contracts since 2023. So you're talking at that point 2 years that this has somewhat been brewing. So obviously, we have more details on that. And then we also have the Jerry Jones press conference. And I'll kind of say this. There are some things that Jerry Jones said in this press conference that I honestly believe is a valid point and is a fair reason when talking about this trade. However, there was another side of this that there are some points that he makes that are honestly asinine and ignorant and really never took, I'm going to say, any credit for this in some ways. Like, obviously we know it was his decision in some aspect, but he never said we could have handled this better. And Micah Parsons could have handled this better. I'm not going to say that this is, 100% void of Micah Parsons. He 100% did not handle it the right way, and we have some more information on stuff that he did throughout his time in the Cowboys organization that, honestly, maybe this was just a thing that needed to happen. It was going to happen at some point. But either way, it never occurred to Jerry Jones that, maybe there was part of this that was his fault, and he didn't handle this the right way that could have been avoided. And it is what it is now. There's nothing to say at this point. The trade has been made. We got to move on from both sides and kind of pick out from the robot what we can. We're going to go to the quotes, though, from Jerry Jones' press conference and kind of break this down. We start with the first one when he talks about the organization being at complete unity in this trade, when he says, quote, "Make no mistake, what wasn't up in the air was a consideration as a complete organization that if we could get this done with our terms, we would make this trade." Basically, what he's saying is this was a complete organization and that we all had a part in this trade. Not just us as the front office or the upper management, but the coaches, the players, people who have really anything to do with this organization. They had a decision in this. And he continues on to say this, quote, "The entire coaching representatives, as well as our entire front office, everyone that is involved that has an interest in going forward that we counsel with, this was unanimous. Players that were on the, quote, team's leadership council certainly had a say," end quote. Okay, so by my account, what he is saying here is that there were players on the Cowboys organization that were, quote, on the leadership team, which, make your own estimates as to who's on that team and who, as the players across the league, who exactly that would be. They were in unity in making this trade. This was something they were okay with. Now, obviously, we got some reactions from Cowboys players, and I'm not going to say that any of these three players would be on the player leadership council, especially according to Jerry Jones. I'm very positive that his leadership council of players is different than the actual leaders on the team. But these are guys that, played with Micah Parsons for a majority, if not all, of Micah Parsons' career thus far, and now they won't get to do so. Obviously, with Trevon, he's been on the same side of the ball with him for the past couple of years. So it's hard to see a friend and a guy who is so good and a real big piece of your team go away. So that's part of it. But I find that him kind of saying that, the leaders of those players were agreed upon, when I don't really know if it was the true leaders. I have a feeling that Jerry Jones may not be in tune with the Cowboys team as he feels he is. Obviously, playing owner and GM can kind of have two sides to it. And there's a couple of things that, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but either way, it's a interesting thing to say the least. Now, there was a couple of other things that he said in the press conference, and this is one that I find a little bit interesting. He says this about the new defensive tackle Kenny Clark when asked about making this trade. He said, quote, "We need to stop the run, and we haven't been able to stop the run in key times for several years. And when you have this kind of extraordinary pass rush that Micah had, then the way to mitigate that pass rush is to run at you," end quote. Which, okay, the run defense has not been great. I don't think Micah is to blame for that. Obviously, when you have an edge rusher as good as Micah Parsons, you're going to be seeing the run a lot more because, well, Micah's an edge rusher. You're not going to run to the outside. You're going to find a way to create a hole in the middle of the line. You're going to run. And the Cowboys have done not a great job at scheming to specifically stop that. I think that more is a scheming issue than Micah Parsons is such a good edge rusher that they have to run the ball, and because of that, they can run up our gut, and it doesn't matter. Oh, totally get that. But at the same point, you have to look at Kenny Clark and understand that I don't know how much this guy is going to help. I'm going to support him 100%. I think he is actually a really good player. I'm not going to sit here and try and be like, "Oh, he's terrible. Like, why did we trade?" We've gotten to the point where this has happened, and I've watched some film. Clark does look pretty good. But he's not going to be a run-stopping force in my mind, and I think that is backed up by a couple of different stats. Obviously, this stat sheet talks a lot more about tackles and sacks, and there's not really a true way to know, like, okay, what exactly is he going to do to stop this run? Well, we have this as well, his PFF grade. His overall grade ranks him about 85th among 219 defensive interior linemen in the NFL, 59.3 PFF grade. His pass rush grade is higher than that, though, which means his run defense grade is 57.1, 83rd out of 219 defensive interior linemen. And to put this out here, he has not had a above 61.5. I think that was his highest in run defense grade in the past 4 seasons. I don't believe that Jerry Jones saying stop the run is a bad thing to say. I think saying that when you talk about Micah Parsons and basically, in some ways, this trade being a reason to get Kenny Clark because he was going to be the one that stops the run. Now, obviously, they have the couple picks and they could use that, but he also kind of mentioned that there was a little bit of a disconnect. And, Micah Parsons over the past couple weeks and even the past year, it's been a little bit of an interesting ride. If we go back to some things that have happened that, were mentioned in the press conference / were talked about, he was sleeping in some ways because of his back tightness. That was mentioned, and whether or not he was going to use that to, say, get out of playing the first week, saying, you're not going to find me because I'm injured. He ended up in the last, preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons, was laying down with his eyes closed on the table. And whether or not that was a good thing or not, whatever. We also had this come out, early summer, late spring this past year. DeMarcus Lawrence, kind of shot at the Dallas Cowboys, and Parsons called him a clown. Obviously, there's stuff with that. So it's a whole slew of things when you look back on it to see, like, Micah was not exactly the most, fluid teammate. There was things that he did that you question, you understand, but I almost again go back to my original point of, let's say Micah Parsons comes to Jerry Jones in the early fall 2023 or / after the 2023 to the 2024 season, into the, let's say, spring of 2024 when Micah asked the second time for a contract. If at that time Jerry Jones goes about this the right way, says, let's talk with your agent, let's get a deal done, are we having this discussion about how Micah Parsons is acting this way? There are going to be problems. I mean, Jerry Jones at the end of his press conference said, make no mistake, there's going to be problems with Micah. That's just the way it is. Is it problems with Micah, or is it problems with the organization of the Cowboys? Because the decisions that we've made, the decisions that the Cowboys as a whole have kind of just gone about with, it's a tough thing to look at and understand that maybe there's a problem inside the organization too. So I just don't really see a point where the Cowboys are fully in the right. I don't see a point where the Micah Parsons is fully in the right. Both sides are definitely to blame, but obviously when things like this happen where, he's putting out the back time, oh, I'm not going to play, send shots at former teammates and sleeps during preseason games, it's not exactly a good look for him. And I wish him all the best. I understand that in some ways this is a positive thing for a couple of different reasons, and we'll talk about that in a future video. But as of right now, it just hurts just because, Micah Parsons was one of my favorite players. Obviously, getting to watch him for the past 4 seasons now. Obviously saying it was a dream to play for the Dallas Cowboys, wanted to always play for us, and not even 4 years, 5 years into his contract, into his tenure in the NFL, he's not playing with us anymore, and that's going to be tough, especially when I see him wearing green and yellow for the Packers. That's not going to be something I like to see. That's what we got for you here today on Cowboys Digest. We appreciate you tuning in, and as always, we want to say to hit that subscribe button. 100% free. You made it to the end of the video. You're obviously enjoying the content, and we'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. Peace out, guys.